Hello, MJ at This Reading Life, inspired by kind of formatting a video by Criminali, made the perfect book tag. She took his video, "This is my perfect book, what's yours?" and sort of formatted it more, I guess, structured it into sort of a tag with questions about not like perfect book as in, the content, particular book that is your perfect book, but the format of the book, the actual physical, construct of what is your perfect book? What is the perfect delivery system for whatever fiction or nonfiction that you're reading? What's your favorite book? What is the perfect book for you that way? And this scratches an itch for me, so I thought I'd do the video because it gets into that. Um, my dissatisfactions, my and the ways that I feel lucky about living in the time that I do. So yeah, let's get into the questions about what is your favorite book, favorite your perfect book, not favorite book. What's your perfect book? Um, so number one is, what format is your perfect book? Is that a hardback, a paperback, or even e-format? I don't know why it's even e-format. Well, that might show my biases. For me, hardbacks, I've never particularly liked hardbacks. I always find hardbacks are too big, too cumbersome. I do a lot of reading in bed or reading in the bath. These are bad places to be hauling around large things. And just, with my history of what I started off reading, as a teenager, I was in secondhand bookstores getting all the paperbacks, which moves us on to paperback. Is a paperback the perfect format for a book for me? It had been for a long time. I think the majority of what I've got here and what I've had in my life have been paperback books because they're cheap, they're portable, they get the job done. They hold their I have big meat hands, but they're I can hold that book in my hand. I can enjoy it. Especially earlier in life, I was totally into trashy covers of science fiction and fantasy books with lurid covers. And because I was like, this was the 80s, I would find books from like the 60s and 70s, which is like a heyday of just like crazy covers. So that paperbacks for the longest of time was my favorite way of reading a book. I would have to say now I'm definitely switched to probably the e format. And if you're going to be reading in the e format, it's going to be a Kindle. Um, for me, I think I started off with a Kobo because it was easier to side load stuff onto it. This is there's I'll get into the kind of the whole joys and satisfactions of this, but I mean it is so portable. I like that, especially with Amazon. I've got my app on the phone that I'm filming with, that I can carry books around with me because, well, kiddies, back in the day before there was magic computers everywhere, you had to haul your books around with you if you were a bookish person, and I would always have a book around with me, which was probably why I was not interested in reading a hardback book. So I always had a paperback shoved somewhere, so I would, whenever I was in a line, whenever I was waiting somewhere, I would have a paperback to pull out. If it was my a break somewhere, I would always have that paperback. But now I can just pull out my phone and synced with the Kindle. I can do that. I like that this is e-ink, so I'm not staring at another kind of bright shiny screen that it's dim. So yeah, it would definitely be, at this point, it is e-format. I've had some instances where I've gotten like, oh, this is a special book, I'll get it in hardback, and I'll have the hardback, and it's like, oh, I'm not getting to read to it because it's this big heavy thing, I can't carry it with me. And so I end up going out and buying an e-copy of it as well, because that's actually what I will read on, not an ebook. Not the hardback. About how many pages is your perfect book? And I mean, this is one of these you could definitely do. it depends. If it's an action adventure story, I'm not gonna I don't want it to be long. If it is a great family saga that spans generations, it could be 1,000 pages. Kristen Lavin's daughter comes to mind. Things like that. I want to be super long. How many pages is my perfect book? Probably somewhere around 300 pages. Is I guess it does depend, but if I was going to say, I was like, okay, someone's going to write a story, but they're not going to go on too much. But I mean, yeah, it's so hard because it depends. The good thing with an ebook is that the tiniest short story fits on here and takes up the exact same room as some gigantic doorstop that would kill me if I was reading it. In bed. Are you particular about as where the chapters begin? Do you want to begin on a fresh page? Probably if it begins on a fresh page, that's nice because gives me that like, oh, I flipped over another page, even though now it's ebook, so I guess it's all illusionary electronic flipping of pages or something like that. Number 3 is, are you particular where the page numbers are located? Not really, not really. Probably I prefer if they weren't in the center of the page, but off to one side where I can see them. I always want to have page numbers. I always want to have some sense of where I'm going along in the book. Number 4, do you have a favorite font? Do you check to see the font details? I don't. It's funny because the second I thought about that, I thought of The English Patient. You can see how much I care about hardback books. I don't even have the cover to this anymore. Michael Ondaatje's The English Patient, which this is probably back in the day when it was actually published. At the back of it, it has a note on type. This book was set in Fairfield, the first typeface from the hand of the distinguished American artist engraver Rudolf Ruzicka, 1883 to 1978. In its structure, Fairfield displays the sober and sane qualities of a master craftsman whose talent were dedicated to clarity. It is this trait that accounts for the trim grace and virility, the spirited design and sensitive balance of this original typeface, which my sarcastic tone, I mean, it is an art, it is definitely a mastercraft in itself. I don't really give a rat's ass. I mean, I care that the typeface is clear. It's nice if it's, I guess, pretty, but it's not really something that I notice. There's slightly I'm sniffing the cork and we're rhapsodizing about where the grapes were grown when we get into that kind of level of font stuff. But whatever floats your boat. If you get off on that, if that's fine. Michael Ondaatje would definitely be that kind of an author who would have that kind of note at the back back in the day. Number 5, do margins matter to you? I guess margins matter to me in the sense that I want my big meaty thumb to be able to kind of press down on the page somewhere. I think if I had to hold it on the edge, and it would be kind of awkward. So, it's basically as big as, my big meaty thumb needs to kind of to rest there. And, probably for me, even if in the treasured book, I want to scrawl some notes all over it in ink, of course, and, dog ear some pages while I'm at it. And so all that would be good to have the margins. Number 6, does your perfect book have any other unique features that make it perfect? Let me get to that one at the end, because this is kind of the whole thing. Number 7 is show us the cover. What do you find perfect about the cover of your perfect book? And I mean, this again, I think comes down to when it's, because this is physical books. This isn't so much ebooks. That comes down to dissatisfactions. I mean, for me, I like good. Paperbacks. I want good, colorful, lurid covers. Oh, where did I probably put it here. I don't have great examples. I mean, when I think of that, I'm thinking of the 70s psychedelic, or Conan covers with kind of lurid stuff. There probably should be a woman in a bikini on here if I'm being honest. When it comes to more literary books, I do kind of like fairly iconic stuff that just leaves stuff to the imagination. I don't want to see anybody's picture of anyone's face. This is actually I like this just kind of the graphical design of this. This is Berlin Alexanderplatz by is it Alfred Alfred Doblin. That is I like that. It's like, just that just that great, that guy kind of great kind of the text and just the detail of the guy's hand. He's just gotten out of prison and is going to be having some fun in kind of pre-Nazi Berlin, I believe it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a Yes, yes. Franz Biberkopf, who, on being released from prison, is confronted with the poverty, unemployment, crime, and burgeoning Nazism of 1920s Germany. And I think that to me seems like a really evocative cover of some guy getting out of prison, and that being the case. So yeah, that's probably a bit of the span of things. I don't like represented, like, too representative covers, like nothing like, oh, here's a scene from the book. It's like more like, kind of captures the mood symbol, and it gives you that kind of thing as you're looking at it. So yeah, let me circle back around, because one of the excuses of doing this is just that, like, yeah, my perfect book is this, but it's not this. Um, this is, to me, is the beginning. This to me feels so incomplete. This to me feels, this could be so much better. This Kindle could be so much better. I love that we have the access to the Amazon library. I love that I can sync it. I can sync it with my phone. But it's got, oh, here, it's got, the just technical of just this one, it's got that damn power button on the bottom, which is not great. When you get covers, they're always kind of this kind of washy kind of, I like e-ink because I don't want to be looking at a screen, but why can't the e-ink be better? Why can't the e-ink also maybe like have color for the cover and then just be black and white, nice crisp black and white? And I want to have so much more control over all the fonts and the margins and the kerning and all that kind of stuff. But I also want there to be some kind of real thought and design that goes into the construction of ebooks. But when I get something off of Project Gutenberg, I also think I could engage my inner geek by just tweaking it all, and it's saving to that particular thing, and just being kind of so much kind of the Android, I guess, experience of like getting to adjust and tinker and stuff like that. I want this to be, for me, I want this to be a deluxe item. This isn't actually, relatively speaking, this is a fairly cheap thing, which is great. But it's like, I spend all my time on this bloody thing. It would be lovely to have an option that I felt like was worth it to me. And so, to be honest, like the Kindle, is it the Oasis and the higher things? It's like, they don't particularly seem like they're particularly that much better. Nothing says that it actually is worth my money to get another thing. I think one of my other things on this is like, my idea of like a perfect book would be one that I can make notes. And I can make notes here, but they're not notes that are actually visible on any margin on the thing. It's like, I almost like would like a screen to pop up, and I'd like to make a note which is really easy to click in, not this kind of awkward keyboard that pops up here. I find that I hit all the time with my sausage fingers. Make a note, and then the note would kind of shrink down and be visible as I look through the text. So it's like, it's customized. It's customized to my text. Yeah. It's like, it's like, I should be grateful for this, but I look at this and all I can see is there'd be so much potential for it to be more. And there's that frustration that you can feel that this is, it's not the focus of Amazon's focus is to just crank out as many books as possible, which, is great. And I love that I can email myself Project Gutenberg books, as well as find, as well as buy other books. But this is like a part of the thing about like, what's your perfect book. It's like, this is the best book I have at the moment, but it's not my perfect book. My perfect book, my perfect the perfect way of reading is still out there for me, that combines convenience and a giant library but with also being able to kind of make this book my own in kind of an electronic form, and make this into an object that I would love. This feels like very disposable in a lot of ways. If I lost this Kindle tomorrow, it would be like, oh, that would be a bummer, but I could buy another one and it wouldn't really matter. I want something that I feel upset about losing. Yeah, so that would be my perfect book, which I don't have. The perfect is always, I mean, the perfect is always out of reach, but there's a long way to go before we're ever going to get there. But yeah, it's one of those things that books are so important to us that, oh, I want that. I mean, there's definitely in a lot of ways that these haven't been surpassed yet at the moment. Just with the kind of how my life is and stuff like that, this is where I spend most of my time, and I'm grateful for it, but I'm also frustrated by it. Yeah, which I'm sure many people feel, especially since Amazon sort of holds the market that way. It would in some ways I would be much happier if they sold the software and there was just a multiplicity. This is such an Android user. There was a multiplicity of companies that competed to make the best version of of an e-reader that Amazon would then happily sell you all the books on. And you could get as cheap and as economic as you wanted, or as deluxe and crazy with as many kind of different options as possible. That would be my dream world, is that we could unleash a lot of people who are way smarter than me and a lot more creative than me to serve my beck and call. If I were king of the universe. Aren't you glad I'm not? All right, I have been Jay. I have been Jay, and thank you to MJ for this tag, and thank you to Criminali, Ollie over at Criminali for his initial question about this. All right, more videos later.